Welcome back to another episode of Unlocking Our Code podcast. The last time we talked about how we were taught to be good girls. Today, we're going to be sharing what happened when we woke up to the truth and how we're actively reprogramming ourselves so we don't pass this down to the next generation. I'm here with Evie.
Hi.
Hello. Are you ready for these?
Yes. I'm excited about the second part. I feel like the first one had a lot of good information, a lot of the foundation, right?
Yep. It was a lot of, I was remembering and brought me back, and I was just like, oof. Made me realize it's still very much instilled in me. It still affects me daily, but I'm more aware of it now, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Same here. I want to talk a little bit about the awakening of this. How do you feel like, do you remember the exact moment when you realize this isn't who I am? This is just conditioning.
When it comes to the Good Girl program, I don't think I've ever really realized that it was even a thing. I think I started to really, I think I just related to something that was talking about it, and I was like, oh, wow. I didn't even realize that, that it's a thing, that it's something that is actually, that was actually created or I didn't even know that it was a thing. I just thought I didn't even know what it was,
mm-hmm.
you know? I guess is what I'm trying to say. I didn't realize, but I feel like it's been definitely in the last couple of years when I seen, and I think you probably sent me a video of somebody talking about it. You know, how she was saying how dangerous it is to raise our daughters to be good girls, because then we're silencing them, which is super important to not do. We're telling them they're losing their identity, their self-worth, their who they are, right? To be something that we're telling them that they have to be. So she was talking about it. She was talking about it in a mother-daughter.
Like how she was raising her daughters.
And then, but as she was talking about that, I was relating it not only to how I'm raising my daughters, but I was relating it to myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it was making so many connections that I was like, holy shit, yeah, it is a program you do hear all the time. When you start dating, you start hearing, or you just generally hear men saying oh, I just want a good girl, you know, I just want her to, I want to come home and I want her to cook my meals and clean for me and don't ask me for anything, and don't ask me what I do or whatever, and she just needs to be good, not emotional, or she's too emotional, or I don't want her to be, just basically look pretty, or the trophy wives, just, I remember saying I wanted to be a trophy wife.
Yeah.
I remember wanting to be a trophy wife, say that's what I want to be. I don't care what happens or how, I just want to be a trophy wife. And I know what a trophy wife is now, and I'm like, hell no.
Yeah, and it comes back down to that, right? We want to be good girls. We want to be good wives. We want to be good.
Yeah,
we just want to be good.
What is that show? The Stepford Wives or something? Yeah, it's just your house is beautiful. You look beautiful. You're always looking cute and wearing your husband come home. You look sexy. You have his food, and you're whatever he wants, whenever he wants. The kids you're a PTO parent. Your kids are perfect. Your everything's oh hell no, that's just exhausting.
Yeah. For sure. I feel like a lot of it for me started coming up when I started doing inner child work. Mm-hmm. I couldn't pinpoint or name, this is a Good Girl program. I just knew that there was a program there, because a lot of my healing, a lot of the work that I do is very based on program. I dive into programs and systems, and I will break them down and do the work, right? Mm-hmm. But when I started doing the inner child work, I definitely seen that there was something there. Something happened, like there is a program there. And now as we did the episode and when we seen that video, it just kind of all started flooding in, right? And I was seeing, oh my God, this is the systems that I've been working on for all this time, right? That have been there. And I mean, I can't necessarily pinpoint other than saying that when I began doing inner child work, and also I remember feelings, like feeling when I began seeing the programs, I remember feeling a lot of pain, a lot of like rage and intense grief, because I was seeing that I had been under a program that had been not only silencing my inner child, but also keeping me from being my authentic self. And so, yeah, definitely when I began working on the program, there was a lot of pain there because of that. Do you feel like any emotions came up for you?
I felt sad to feel that I was just suppressing me, that I was just keeping myself, like we talked about in the last episode, like, that I had buried her somewhere and I didn't even know who I was. So that to me was really sad. So I feel like it was a lot of that emotion because I was suppressed. But along with that, it was a lot of anger also, it was just angry. Anger has been an emotion that's been carrying me for a long time. And I'm not saying I'm carrying anger. I'm saying anger's carrying me, like literally, like it's been holding me and it's been my survival emotion. It's kept me alive. So I've lived off of anger for a long time. But now I see that there's pain behind it. And so it's sad, And I feel like that's the things that I was like, man, I didn't even know who I was for close to 40 years. I mean, I didn't even know, I've always been something else, or I've always tried to be someone else.
Yeah, and that's the painful part, right? So as we started seeing the programs that we were breaking, and in this case, the Good Girl program, what do you feel like there was a certain first parts that you began breaking, right? So for example, for me at the beginning, to begin breaking this program down, I had to first obviously feel the rage and the anger, the shadow self, right? Like what was there, what I was feeling, the darkness, the intensity of that without bypassing that. Then after that, it was like seeing the beauty of who I've always been, who my inner child has always been, acknowledging that she was not imperfect in any way, how the world or my parents or my caregivers, family, school, whoever I came in contact with, like all those comments that were made about her, they were not true. It was just people who were not free themselves, who were speaking to her. But obviously at that time, we were so young that we believed. So in order to begin breaking this system down, I had to begin seeing the beauty of her, right? Seeing that she was always enough. And there was so much beauty in who she was authentically.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I don't know. It's really incredible to start like having awareness in that part.
Yeah. When you can start seeing yourself.
Yeah. When you can start seeing yourself, and then also when you can start breaking down the program, right? Because when you become aware of the program, you'll become aware of it, right? Yeah. It's in your awareness. But then after that, there's work behind it, which is some of the work is feeling, acknowledging the shadow self. And then you begin breaking it down. That's the collapse of that system within you. Yeah. And there's certain steps that take in place for everyone. Everyone has their own process. Yeah. For me, it was through the inner child that this process began collapsing, accepting my inner child, calling her back home, helping her heal and acknowledging her.
Right. I feel that when I started going back to her, I had to even like learn that she was even there and very much aware that that I didn't even know that that she was there, you know. But it put kind of like always questioning. I realized that I was always questioning myself, like I feel like I think for a really long time I would question, like, God, what am I? Who am I? Like, what do I want? You know? And I didn't realize that I had someone that I had buried back then, and I didn't know it was her. So doing the inner child work was very eye-opening, and realizing that I had kept her quiet for so long, and that I had kind of like put like we had, you know, every not only me, but all my environment, everybody, like you mentioned, all my caregivers, everyone around me, kind of, we just kept putting bandages like on her mouth and just kind of kept her quiet. And so she was never seen. She was never, like, I guess, like I mentioned before, whatever I had to say didn't matter. So for me, it was like letting her speak, finally letting her say things. And it's still very hard for me to speak. I think it's still very hard for me to set my boundaries, to say what I want. I still feel guilt saying when I want something. I still feel guilty about it. But that's just me bringing her home, I guess. And so to me, it was even realizing that she's even there, first and foremost, and then getting to know her. And then realizing that I have been keeping her quiet all these years. We've been keeping her quiet all these years, and just letting her talk.
Yeah, for sure. And not only is it that process, right? It's also like once we start doing the work, you know, the inner child work and rewriting our story and doing all that work, there's also another side of this, right? Is the family, right? A lot of the people that begin doing this work, they begin getting pushback from family, from friends, because you're beginning to not awaken, but remember more than anything, remember who you truly been at your core.
Yeah.
And then we begin having pushback, right? So there's also a lot of that work behind it, which is feeling a lot of that shame that comes from comments that are being made by family, by friends, by everyone that knew you as your old identity, right? Because once you start collapsing the identity you've been carrying, you will no longer be who you've been. People, after you do the work and you start showing up differently, no one knows you anymore. No one.
Nope.
The version of you that people knew died.
Yeah.
In that moment. So you begin showing up more authentically, like I said. You begin setting boundaries. You begin speaking your truth. You begin giving your authentic self room to exist. And a lot of that tends to not be welcomed by the family. I felt like, for me, that was big. I definitely felt at my core a lot of the pushback from my family, a lot of like, well, you're this now and you're that now, like just names being thrown out, right? So it's like, because they don't know how to approach you anymore. They're like, who is this person now? Like, we knew her for 25 years, 30 years in this old role as the old identity. So who are we speaking to? You know, there's a lot of confusion, a lot of collapse that begins happening in the family system.
Yeah, they don't, they say you're loud, or they make you feel guilty, and so you carry shame. They say you're stirring the pot, you're going crazy, you're selfish, you are being fake. They say because you are now finding who you are and you're not the person that you were before. And so now you're fake. Or they say like, oh, you're being a hypocrite because you used to say this, now you're saying that. So it's all these things that, you know, have been said. I can't really say that, that I really had that struggle within my family. I feel everybody kind of just saw the struggle that I went through when I fell into like a really bad depression, and then and I knew at that point, I had no idea what was going to happen on the other end of that. During those months, I had no clue. I did not know what was going to happen. All I knew was that something so powerful was going on within me that I did say, like, the Lou that you guys knew as of today, like, and back, she's like, she's gone, she's dead, like, she's not here anymore, you know. That's all I knew. I didn't even know what I meant by that. I had no clue. When I said that, when I posted that video on my social media, I had no clue what I was saying. I just knew something inside me said, just, this is it, like, she's not coming back anymore. And I feel like for my family, they just kind of were like, okay, just give her space, let her do her thing. No one ever really questioned me or said anything, never made me feel any certain type of way. I think for me, it was more like between my husband and I, he was kind of like, what the hell's going on? I don't, like, is this a phase? Is this a thing? Is this, you know, like, to him, he was like, I don't know, but I don't blame him. I mean,
of course.
you know, he married a person, and from, like, within months, like, this person is turning into something else. So I don't blame him. I even for a moment, I was just like, I don't even blame him if we don't even make it through this anymore, because I'm not that person anymore, you know, like, I'm not the person that he married anymore. So there were so many things, but at the same time, I felt like, but I don't want to lie to myself anymore, and I don't want to keep playing this role of who I'm not just to keep other people happy, you know. And that, I'm sorry to say, but that even includes my husband, you know, like, I'm just not going to do that anymore. And hopefully, like, my authentic self can be, and I feel like I'm way more, what's the word? I feel like I can now see more. I have more awareness, and I feel like I have more compassion, way more compassion. I had to find it for myself first. So I feel like it's helping in our relationship instead of, like, going against it. But I have to say, when it comes to family or friends, I do feel like some friends fell off, definitely, for sure. And I'm okay with that. I love them still. I love everybody who I was talking to before. And if I see them, you know, I have huge love for them. I don't expect everybody to stay with me. Not everybody's supposed to be with me. They're not, you know, some people came to my life when I needed them and they fell off now. And it's fine. You know, if I see them, I love them, I respect them. But if they're not with me 24/7 like they used to be, I'm okay with that too.
And that's the beauty of it, right? That you have the awareness in such a positive way, right? Because we suffer the most when we hold on tight to the old versions, and when we're, like, growing, but then we are still, like, holding on,
because
like, to dear life.
It's our life. It's the life that we lived every single day. So it's going to be painful when you lose relationships, whether it's your family or friendships, and not saying losing them as in you don't ever speak to them, but in some points you do. But I'm just saying when they're no longer there, it does feel like, dang, like, you start to question yourself again. Like, am I, you know, should I just maybe, like, allow it again? But no, my peace is everything. I just, you know, if I see people and I want to hang out with them and I want to have a time of my life with them for that night or for that day, or we're all hanging out, and that's fine. If I don't see you for another 2-3 months because whatever it is, I'm not, you know, I don't feel any ill feelings towards anyone that feels anything towards me. This is who I am. And if they want to be a part of it, they can be. And if they don't, I'm perfectly fine with that too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's the peace that you have to find within yourself, but it is a painful one at times.
Oh, very, very much. For me, it played out in every area of my life. For me, it played out very loudly in my family. For me, it was directly in my family, because it was almost like, oh God, like the hierarchy just collapsed as I was going through everything, setting boundaries, you know, everything. It was very, very loud for me, and it played directly in my family. And it was very, painful. Very, very painful, extremely hard. But now that I've, you know, gone through it, I am so grateful, because peace that I feel within me, I cannot compare it to anything. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't give it up for anything in the world, not for a system, not to please anybody, not to keep anybody, nothing. And like you said, even in love, even in my direct marriage, I've been married 16 years. I've been with my husband. Even in that part of my life, I had to have very difficult conversations with him and tell him, this is what I've been doing for these past years, but it will not happen anymore. I've been accepting crumbs from everyone around me. I've been people pleasing just to accept and like get a little bit of love, and it stops here. And in every area, right? In every area in my life and relationships, at work, everywhere. It happened in every specific area. And like you said, it included him, right? Yeah. And just saying, this is my truth. This is who I am, right? And I knew, and I had an inner knowing, like, okay, if I can't force anyone to do anything, right?
It's a very painful realization.
It's scary because you're like in the unknown.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, shit, I'm going to go there. And again, it's one of those moments where you're like, am I being selfish? Am I trying to keep the peace? Mm-hmm. I'm going to sacrifice myself just to keep the peace. But no, it's like, no, I'm sorry, but no.
No, I can't continue to do that because it's more painful. Right. So it's definitely, and we're not saying that this programming, won't creep up again, because it will continue to knock on your door, and it will, show up in different ways. And there's, of course, many different tools that we can use, daily practices. Some of the practices that I did to begin shifting my mind and begin helping me rebuild my identity outside of the good girl has truly been being brutally honest with myself. So brutally honest with myself that it is painful, and like I almost want to run from myself when I see it. But being that brutally honest, and then also rewriting the program, right? I'm just someone that I do my work like that. I look at it as programs. I study it. I go in it, and then, rewrite the story. So a lot of that in journaling. Journaling truly helps me see what's in the subconscious, and like it just helps me kind of see what's playing, what's happening, right? A lot of that's some of the ways that I've done it. And when I've caught myself slipping back into the old patterns, is not blaming myself, right? Because it's not that you won't go back or that you won't like see the information come back to you. Is how fast you can come back to your center. That's the important thing, right? Not blaming ourselves. Of course it's gonna come back. We've lived under that system for 30 plus years, right? So it's just being aware that, hey, coming back, that there is a way to come back to our center, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I feel that for me, it's been a lot of self-talk. I have to admit, like, I've really, really have tried journaling, and I try it, and I feel like something blocks my thoughts while I'm journaling, and I have to, and then or it's not really blocking my thoughts, but I have to admit, like, it kind of, I feel like when I'm trying to journal, I feel that I'm trying to be so perfect on paper that then I feel like, okay, I'm not even being, why? Like, it's my journal. Like, who cares what I write in there? Like, it doesn't have to be perfect, or my thoughts. I mean, if you know me, anybody that knows me and has a conversation with me knows that I have major squirrel moments, and I'm always like thinking, I'm saying one thing and my brain's already thinking something else. And then I start talking about what my brain is thinking, and then the person I'm talking to is like, what the hell? What happened? Like, So when I'm writing, it's the same thing. And so it's very hard for me to I'm like, oh, why am I already wanting to write about something else? I'm not even done writing this. So journaling for me has just been a hot mess. Again, I just had a squirrel moment right now. But so for me, it's been a lot of self-talk, and my conversations are, honest. Like, I just can't. Like, I can't. Yeah, like I'll be in the mirror and I'm talking to myself and I'm just like, oh girl, you have some work to do, you know? There's a lot of that. And I think for me that just works best because I can have all my squirrel moments all I want, and I don't have to worry about it. But it's that, and a lot. I think a lot of meditating and a lot of going back and talking to myself and talking to my inner child or specific stages in my life. I think that's always been very helpful for me, for sure, going back. Yeah, that's what's been helpful.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. Self-talk. That's one main thing. Journaling and self-talk have been my two, but journaling for me has came easier maybe because I've done it since I was very young. I started writing like maybe at 10, and it's something I've done. But self-talk has actually been very, very powerful tool to use. Very, extremely powerful, because not only can you hear your subconscious, but you can rewrite the story right there and there. You simply command yourself differently. You say, okay, this is what I've been under for 30 years. It stops today. This is our new truth.
And like I realize, like, when I'm asking myself questions like, okay, but why did you do that? And immediately like the answers come up and I'm like, yep, you know exactly why you did that, you know? So it's like everything is it just flows so naturally. So I'm just can't, you know, you can't even lie to yourself, because were you going to lie to the thought that you have in your head, like, or the answer that just popped up in your head? You're going to act like you didn't see that come out right now, you know? So to me, it's been the most helpful.
It's like a direct channel to your higher self too, because the program can be talking, right? If you get used to talking, doing self-talk, what's going to happen is you're going to hear the program speak. Then you're going to hear maybe the inner child or a thought, but you will always hear your higher self. You will begin eventually, the more you practice on that muscle of self-talk, one day you're going to hear your higher self. Yeah. And when you hear your higher self, get ready.
Yeah, you're going to be like, I know that's you.
It will never go away. No. And every time the programming comes, your higher self comes in and says, no. No, that's not true. And so you can't lie to yourself anymore, right? It's beautiful. Self-talk, I can't. It's amazing. And if there's a tool I recommend, if it's not journaling, if journaling is too much, self-talk 100% helps a lot. I do want to touch on why this matters for the next generation, right? Why is this so important that we reprogram, not only for ourselves, but for the girls that we're raising, for the women that have daughters, right? I feel like it's super important that as women, once we are aware of it, that we do the work, because there's a next generation after us, right? Like for me, it's my daughters, and then I have a granddaughter, right? And what am I trying to raise? An obedient girl or a woman that knows her power? It comes down to that. But if I myself don't know my power, right, I cannot guide my daughter in that path. Yeah. Yes, women can actually wake up to it on their own, of course. I mean, it happened to me, but also a lot of it was modeled, because one of the things that I could say, yeah, of course, my mom has not done her healing or none of that, but my mom would followed absolutely no sign of a good girl in her. She was a rebellion since day one, but which is very interesting, because she could not be in a cage herself. Like, she went against every system, everything that was taught to her, but she was raising good girls. So it just kind of like, it's interesting, right? Because herself, like, rebelled against all that, but then wanted to see it in her own daughters. Maybe because of the shame, not feeling, I have, she had, now it's 6 women and 1 boy, but at the time before my 2 last ones came along, she was raising 5 daughters. So it was a lot of like, what are people going to say? So a lot of the programming was being installed so that just people won't talk.
Yeah, because she, even though she was being rebellious and she was trying to allow her true self to come out, she was being shamed for it. So she knows the shame that she went through. She knows the shame that she, quote unquote, put her family through. And she doesn't want that for you guys. She didn't want that for you guys, you know? So it wasn't meant to harm you guys. It was meant to protect you, to keep you guys from feeling the shame and the guilt that she felt, right? So I feel like that's where she comes from. I think for me, it's super important because I know what I suffered. Again, I'm 41 years old and I just now am learning who I am. Why the fuck would I want my kids, my daughters, to be in the same boat as me? I don't want my children to suffer. I don't want my children to ever second guess their worth, second guess whether what they have to say is important or if it's good enough for their man or their partner, or if it's good enough for their friends or if they're bosses or whatever. Like, say what you want to say. If you and our kids are smart. Like, our kids are extremely intelligent these days, you know, not just mine or yours, but kids in general just are extremely intelligent and they're so aware. And for someone to dim their light or shut them down just because they don't want to put shame on the family, like, that's freaking ridiculous. So in my head, I'm like, why would I want to silence my child? Like, why would I want to keep them quiet? It just makes no sense to me. So I want them to be loud. I want them to speak. I even my son, I mean, I know that this is kind of geared towards women and daughters and stuff, but I even tell my son, like, speak. I tell my kids all the time, I love, the most beautiful thing in my ears is hearing you guys speak. Like, everything you guys have to say, I want to hear it all. I want to know it all. That's what I'm always telling them. So I'm always asking them, like, what is it that you guys want? Like, what do you guys want to do? So hearing them say all these things, and at least my girls are, well, I mean, Mia more than anything, her confidence is ridiculous. And so I see her and she's like one of my most proud moments, just watching her be something that I could never be. And I'm like, I'm trying so hard to keep her, like, from getting tarnished, from getting, like, you know what I mean? I don't want anything to affect that. Camila, she's more quiet, or she's more like on the shy side. And so I want her to be, you know, I tell her, use your voice, baby. You say what you want. I know she expresses herself in a different way, and I want to nurture that as well. And my son is extremely shy. He's just like, when he's comfortable, he's just a chatting box. But to me, around new people and stuff, he's not sure of himself. He doesn't have that confidence. Like, it's still, you know, and that hurts me. Like, it hurts me to my core because I see myself in him. And I'm like, you know, of course, every kid of mine got a different version of me, which hurts, you know, it really sucks. I wish I could redo it all over again, but now I just have to keep reassuring him and keep telling him that, you know, the world wants to hear what he has to say, you know. And so I just keep telling them that. And that to me is why it's so important, because this new generation is so freaking smart, and the things that they're learning, the things they're absorbing, the things that matters to them, like, it's shit that to us, we didn't even think about at that age. And to them, they're already like talking about things and subjects that I'm like, you guys care about that? And they're like, yes, Mom, we care about that. And I'm just like, yes, like, all right, like, thank God, you know? So it kind of gives me so much hope for the next generation. And I'm kind of hoping that, you know, I don't know, I'm kind of hoping that, because this is what we're leaving them. Like,
yeah, it's, you know, beautiful. I totally 100% agree with you. When I was doing the notes and everything for this podcast, I was like, okay, I grew up in a cage, right? I know I did a lot of mistakes, of course, especially with my oldest daughter. She's about to be 21. And even when I was getting prepared, I called her and I asked her, how did you feel growing up? You know, because I 100% was parenting her under the good girl, a 100% at that time. And she was like, I told her, did you ever feel, pressure to be good? And she's like, yeah, all the time. I had to follow this. I had to follow that. And of course, I knew 100% that I was raising her like that. I wanted her to be good, to never say bad words, I didn't allow her to wear makeup. To this day, she doesn't wear makeup. Right now, she only wears the lightest mascara and lip gloss. But I instilled it in her when she was growing up. And that it kind of hurts me because I'm like, I took that from her and this sucks, right? But obviously now, thankfully, we're on the other side of it. And now I'm able to say, I'm sorry I did those things to you. I thought that was the way it was because that's what it was shown to me, right? But now she understands that the way I was parenting was old, and I've had these conversations. And what I had to ask myself was like, are my daughters in the cage that I was in? And they're not. And that's the beauty of it, right? That at this young age, they are not in a cage. They can speak up. My daughter, the one that is in middle school, I mean, yeah, she is full expression of, I see her and I see like, this is who my inner child would have been if I would have been out of the cage and if I would have been free. I see her and it makes me I'm so grateful that they both use their voice, that they are not afraid to make you uncomfortable. They just speak and they say what they need to say. And one of the things which makes me I battled with is that sadly school is one of the places where they are dimming the light for our girls. And at least that's where I have seen it happen very big. They want them to behave, obey, follow rules, do not step out of the lines, right? I've had many, many incidents with the school system, and it's all because they have to follow this specific way of doing things, but they don't really know the harm that can cause a little girl, right? So a lot of these conversations, when I'm having these incidents, I always speak to my daughter and I tell her, because she doesn't understand why an adult is acting the way they're acting. So I have to have very difficult conversations with her and tell her, they're people who are not free themselves. They're not free themselves. And so they're just following what they were taught to teach you, right? But I always make sure that she knows that her voice is her power. I always tell her, this is a gift you have. And always understand that this is a gift. And yes, there will be people that try to dim it because they don't understand you and because they're not free themselves, right? So it's happening everywhere. So like you said, it's super important that we as adults, that we as mothers are the ones speaking up, modeling, first of all, embodying that. And then second of all, that we are reminding them that they are divinity itself, no matter who tells them what. Right? And I feel like that's very, very important that we do that. Before we close, I did want to ask you this. If you could go back and tell your younger self one truth about the Good Girl program, what would it be?
I think it's very obvious for me. I think, and I've gone back to her. I go back to her. We're in a much better place, just so you know, because I've literally picked her up from, I don't remember if you remember one of the meditations that we did, and where we like literally took her from where she was at and brought her home to me. So I've done that multiple times with many stages in my life. But one thing that I've gone back and I've said, and it was definitely always, I want to hear what you have to say. Like, speak. You could speak. We want to hear what you have to say. Like, what you have to say matters, To me, I feel that was my biggest thing. And that I keep talking about. And that was it. Like, like, yes, you know, you're now at the table and you can speak now. Like, this is your time, you know. Because it was always one thing that I always wondered. So when do people want to hear what I have to say? When does it matter, you know? To me, that was probably the biggest thing. And so, yeah, it's like, I want to hear you, you know. And so let's say it now. That is what I go back and tell my younger self. It's I still to this day do it.
It's beautiful. Yeah, I would tell my younger self to be you. That being you is your purpose and your power. Nothing else. Nothing outside of you. Just be you. It's okay to be you. You're perfect the way you are. That's what I would tell her, because I think she adopted so many identities, so many masks outside of who she was, just to please everyone else, the world, the caregivers, the family, but never was she allowed to be herself. So now when this comes up, I always remind her, you're safe to be you now. It's okay. You survived. You made it through. And now I'm here and I love you and I accept you just the way you are.
Yeah.
And I feel like that for me, that's been very healing, very helpful. So it's why I myself always encourage women to question themselves and take ownership of their lives and stop handing your power to old systems and old beliefs that keep women disconnected from their power, and be brutally honest with yourself. So brutal that the truth shocks you. That brutal.
Yeah.
I always encourage women to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's powerful. Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's perfect. Yes. Do that. Dig deep, you know, and don't lie to yourself, you know, like, exactly. Be honest. Don't lie to yourself. Listen to that voice that's telling you in the back of your head, no, girl, don't lie. Because that's the voice, you know? And yeah, I mean, that's perfect.
Yeah, it's been a great episode. Thank you to all of our listeners who joined us on this part 2. It's very healing for us. We learned so much. I learned so much about myself, and I hope that somebody learned a thing or two. As always, you know where to find us at Unlocking Our Code Podcast, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.